Welcome to the BBRO Virus Yellows trial. This is the 5th year that we've been undertaking these trials in this format and an opportunity to work very closely with the breeders to identify those future genetics and varieties that you're going to be using on farm to solve virus yellows in the future. This trial was sown back in April and inoculated with virus-carrying aphids to 3 of the viruses, beet mild, beet chlorosis and beet yellows, in the first few days of June, and we're now starting to see both in the varieties of 2024 and the future genetics some of the differences that you hopefully will see on your farm and the benefit of providing integrated approaches to virus yellows. For most of the material that's been developed for the UK market for virus yellows, the primary virus that has been developed against is beet mold yellowing virus. This is beet yellows virus. This is the most damaging of the yellowing viruses that can decrease yield by up to 50%. I think, Alistair, you agree that they are showing some of the strongest symptoms this year?
Yeah, definitely, Mark. I think there's no doubt about it, and we'll no doubt see significant yield losses as a result.
So what we'll do is now walk through the trial with Alistair and we'll look at the highlights of the virus yellows trial so far in 2023.
Thank you, Mark. Here we are. We're standing in the beet chlorosis, one of the 4 reps of beet chlorosis for Verde, which is the screen of the 2024 recommended list. We have pretty much every variety that will be available to you on farm next year, here sown out in 3-row plots, and every single one has been infected with beet chlorosis. There's some interesting symptom expression, although we're only capturing it on 1 day of the year so far. We know symptoms will change and readily change over the coming few weeks and months until harvest. But there's some interesting looking candidates here. BTS 1915, which I'm sure many of you will be growing, is looking pretty good. It has got some symptoms of virus, and we know all the varieties will get symptoms. Next to it, we've got BTS 1140. Which I don't think will be available anymore, but was widely grown.
And one of our marker varieties that
Yes.
we've incorporated into these variety trials for the last 3 or 4 years, so we've got a reference point throughout this series of trials, so when we do the analysis, those varieties can provide that continuity.
The plot next to that one, we've got Button from Struber.
So we've got all the varieties just about for the 2024
Yep.
list, like you've said. What is fascinating under beet chlorosis is that we are seeing, even with varieties that are commercially available, a checkerboard effect.
Another Struber variety next to it here, this one's Morgan. So again, both from Struber. And finally, the other Struber variety, Stewart. So you can see here, even with these 3 Struber varieties, there is a variation in their phenotype.
But then we move on to 134, Alistair, and it's a very different canopy architecture. So what's that one?
This is a new variety for next year. This is Smart Vesnica, so the new ALS tolerant variety. And we're seeing it's got quite a prostrate and flat canopy even when uninfected. But there's some deep green leaves there, but quite a lot of them are showing symptoms. This one here is Marussia KWS, so the first variety that came on the market for decades with any claim against any of the viruses. This one claims partial tolerance to beet mild, but it's standing up pretty well by the looks of it to chlorosis, which is...
On the whole, there's a little bit of symptom in the older leaves, but on the whole, canopy is looking good. And that's important at this stage as we're into autumn for that photosynthetic capacity that is maintained throughout without losing leaves to the virus infection.
BTS 3020. So quite a different canopy shape and size and habit. But it's important to remember this is the least aggressive of the viruses. So this is probably the best they're going to look. This is Anatina KWS. Looking really green, but some early signs of disease creeping in there.
But it's important to remember these varieties change. It's quite a dynamic trial that we capture, but also remember, this sort of trial is, I describe as an iceberg trial. You're only seeing about 10% of the impact. So you're watching the influence of the virus on canopy, but ultimately, as we all know, it's what happens in the roots and performance in the factory that really counts. And these will be data that Alistair and I will have when we harvest the trial in November.
Next, we have Wren from Cess van der Haave, so a widely grown variety. Adder, so another one from Cess van der Haave here, looking quite similar to the Wren. Felina from KWS, so the AYPR variety for Rhizomania. Again, looking pretty green. I think I'd be happy with that in my field at this time of year. 1, 2, 3, this is Cortessa. So although it's no longer on the RL, it's here as a control variety and showing quite strong symptoms right now. This one's BTS 3610, showing sort of symptoms on par with its neighbours. You can see those sort of golden polarivirus symptoms are starting to build, and as we would expect, it'll be interesting to see if it holds up under infection. Here we have Daphne from KWS. So Daphne is a very well-established variety now. I'm sure many of you are using it on farm, not just because it's BCN tolerant, but also because it yields very well. But we like Daphne in these trials because it is a good indicator of successful infection. And as you can see here, quite severe symptoms. 6 is BTS Smart 9485. So the alternative ALS resistant variety. Although it looks pretty green at the moment, you can see deep in the canopy, nearing the ground, there are those older leaves, and many of them seem to have symptoms. Finally, we have Harrietta KWS. So one of the BCN tolerant varieties. Looks like the canopy is quite small in places where it's been infected, but again, it'd be interesting to see how it has held up when we harvest it. So we're now standing in Goliath. So this is our pipeline for new varieties coming from all the breeders from across Europe. And this is the trial we've been running for 5 years now. And we're standing next to the beet yellows plots. And I'm really excited because for the first time we've got some standout entries that really seem to be standing up to the virus. Although they are still showing symptoms, the early drone data I've been collecting has highlighted out this entry, for example, to really be standing up well and maintaining its canopy well beyond the others. Of course, the proof of the pudding comes in through the tear house and when the samples are lifted by the trials team, but we will keep you up to date with the results. Hopefully these varieties will soon make their way onto the recommended list as well. And it's a real good sign that we've got diverse sources of resistance coming from all of the major breeders that are involved with the project. And we look forward to repeating this in the future. We'll be able to give you a full update at Beet Tech 2024. I look forward to seeing you then.